Arsenal's victory over Liverpool, meaning that Arsenal 1 point clear at the top of the table. But look at Liverpool, already 14 points adrift of top spot, and things go from bad to worse for Jurgen Klopp's side. Not because Nadim Anua joins us. Nadim with us to give us his thoughts. Nadim, I forgot about you because I was going to go straight to the Luis Diaz injury, which will see him out for 8 weeks. Obviously a major blow, not only to his domestic campaign, but obviously the World Cup as well. It's obviously a big blow, obviously a big problem for Jurgen Klopp, and they seem to be piling up, Craig.
Yeah, because it's not just the back line that's been a problem. It's every department, really. I mean, we talked yesterday about Fabinho being on the bench. He's gone to a 2 in the middle of the park. Sometimes it's a 3. He's searching. The front line has had Darwin Núñez in and out and chopped and changed there. And I suppose Diaz has been a bit of a constant. So, yeah, it goes without saying, it is a massive blow.
He's Colombian, Shaq. He's not in the World Cup. I don't know why you told me that before we started. How do you cope with your Klopp with all this going on?
As best you can, and so much about this season reminds me of that season with the pandemic, where I thought Liverpool struggled, and Klopp, we made comments about some of the things that he was seeing, and in the end, top 4 just had to suffice, and I think that's where Liverpool are right now. Never mind chasing down Manchester City and giving them a run for their money, as they've done more times than most over recent seasons. Right now, it's just about getting a tune out to these players, getting into the top 4, and then retooling, and it's as simple as that. It not made any simpler, obviously, by the injury, given the problems that, well, Liverpool have had all over the park. But Diaz has been one of the more consistent players, particularly attacking-wise. And how do you cope without him? I'm not at all sure. The one good thing is there's still enough games for Liverpool to somehow get this right.
They are still, Nadim, 4th favourites to finish in the top 4.
Yeah, we've seen the history of Liverpool in terms of how they can rack up so many wins in a row, but this does feel like a strange moment for them, and I think as Shaq was alluding to, that season during the pandemic where essentially they were almost unrecognisable, didn't have a defence which people really knew, and there was just something that was missing. And it seems like they're in that moment now, and I guess the downside for them is at this moment whereby they're just doing their absolute best to stay afloat. You look at some of the teams they've had, like Arsenal, who are, they've only dropped 3 points. So you'd like to still be closer at this stage. But at the end of the day, this is the nature of football. And sometimes, when it rains, it pours. And for Diaz, as Shaka was saying there, even though, like Liverpool have been struggling, he feels like one of the brightest sparks in terms of their sort of season so far. He seems closer to his best. He feels more dangerous. And this is still with a goal tally that is still just 3 and with the 2 assists. But he does feel dangerous whilst he's playing. Whereas, somebody like Salah, who's still fully fit at this moment, seems to be misfiring just that little bit. So it's a blow for them, but this is Liverpool, this is Jurgen Klopp, and this is why you have a big squad.
Shouldn't feel sorry for them. I don't want to see any player injured, but they got Jota, they got Firmino, they got Núñez, and they got Mo Salah, amongst others. What's going to have to happen is those players, particularly Núñez and Mohamed Salah, who's just been given a huge bumper new contract when Mane left, needs to get his finger out.
Right.
He needs to get his finger out.
What's wrong with him?
Well, his end product is not there. He's working hard enough. There's no attitude problem or anything like that. He's just not got the end product that he's had in previous years. And whatever happened yesteryear is gone. Jurgen Klopp needs his players to stand up. Listen, injuries are part and parcel. It's 6 weeks or 8 weeks, not 8 months. It's part. And by the way, kudos to the Liverpool physio yesterday, because had he buckled like the old days to the players, it would have been longer.
He wanted to stay on, didn't he?
There was a shot of who is it again?
Luis Diaz?
Diaz. There's a shot of Diaz saying, strap it up, put a tape around the knee, and the physio went, no, we're done. That's what you used to do. And physio would go, yeah, all right, we'll carry on. Then you're looking at 4 or 5 months. So kudos to the physio for saying, no. You need to get yourself off, and then we'll deal with it.
How much is this poor start down to Jurgen Klopp, Nadim?
I'm mixed up with this a little bit, because you could say sometimes a manager needs to sort of add something a bit different to get the best out of his players. But then in the same breath, some of the players are making mistakes and not playing well. We could talk about the formation, the 4-2-4, some people aren't happy about it. But they can still perform better. I think he said after the game yesterday that, they didn't concede the goals because of the formation. Well, that's the bigger question then. So why was it? Why were some of those goals conceded the way that they were? It feels like there's a bit of a lack of confidence in the team. Obviously the injuries don't help. Thiago missing very early in the season and the like, but I don't know, something just feels a bit off. And to blame the manager, totally, I think that misses the point, because he's not the one kicking the ball at the end of the day. But you would think after all the years that he's had there and his understanding of the players, he would be able to find that little bit extra to get them to be more competitive again, because as it stands, this side is very unfamiliar to what we've seen over the recent years.
The intensity. For me, that's what's missing, the intensity.
Okay.
In performance.
And how do you get that back?
And I tell you why I say that, because there's they start out there, I don't know exactly what it is that they've gone behind and lost the first goal in something like 9 matches. That's telling me they're coming out the block once or twice, maybe 3 times, 9, 10, whatever it is. That's telling me you're coming out and it's like, well, we'll just get ourselves into the game and we'll take our time and we'll see what's happening and then we'll control the game. No.
But at the same time, listen, Liverpool have been having to contend with a lot, Champions League final and then short pre-season. And while we can sit here and credit Jurgen Klopp for the way he backs his players, when they underperform, it doesn't really look like he's going to leave them out either. We've spoken about Van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold and how poor they've been during the course of this season. And while it's great that he continues to stand by them, sometimes players just need a little spell on the sideline. They need to feel a little bit threatened and not as comfortable as they are. So while I think there's a lot of blame to be shared, players and manager alike have to carry that can.
But listen, they could finish outside the top 4. I mean, I know it's not ideal. There's nobody going anywhere.
Oh, yeah. We're talking Klopp here. I don't think anyone.
Well, there's always 1 or 2 idiots out there.
Yeah.
Why are we not talking about them being fired? Oh, the mid-table. I mean, some of these people just don't realise.
But just going back to my question, which kind of avoided, how do you get that intensity back?
Manager.
Right.
Coaches.
Right. But obviously he knows that, and obviously he's been trying that, surely. It's not like this has come out of the blue. This has been a run of poor results now for a couple of months.
It's his job and the coach's job to make sure that as soon as they step on that field and the whistle goes, they're absolutely switched on. They're ready, like the Liverpool we've known, in the most part under this guy's tenure, has been frightening from the first whistle.
Right.
You don't lose the first goal in all these games if you're at it from the start. You don't. And the other thing that I just don't get is, going back to this, let's put 2 people in front of the back 4, because that's giving you more protection, Thiago and Henderson. You're effectively taking another midfielder out, unless you're putting a more solid midfielder in front, which he didn't. He's then putting 4 attacking players. So, yeah, you change the shape a little bit, but effectively you've added another forward-thinking player and taken a more defensive one out. I just didn't understand that either. And then even to suggest that it looked good against Rangers. I mean, Rangers are just not competitive in this competition in the Champions League.
One of the most disappointing things for me is, given that enforced break because of the Queen's untimely passing, I thought this was a perfect opportunity. Okay, it's a short season, we've been talking about games coming thick and fast, but now Liverpool underperforming, you have this break. I thought Jurgen Klopp would have had Liverpool coming out to that break a lot better than they have been. And that's been a huge disappointment. So while maybe I'm looking forward now to that break with the World Cup and wondering what Liverpool will look like, I'm not that optimistic again, but it may come at a perfect time for Liverpool and Klopp just to retool. The other thing for me is, and as Craig said, Liverpool may very well finish outside the top 4. That's a possibility. I don't think Liverpool finishing out the top 4 in this one instance is as damaging as it would be to other clubs. Whereas finishing top 4 in Champions League football comes with an attraction, I still feel that Jurgen Klopp is a manager that a lot of players will want to come and sign for. A lot of players will see this as being just an off-season, and they won't be as put off by that lack of Champions League football for one season as they would be with other clubs who may suffer a similar fate.
With hindsight, Nedum, instead of signing Darwin Núñez, Could that money have been better spent bolstering the midfield?
Well, that's how it feels at this moment in time. But in the same breath, with the midfielders that they do have, you still expect them to be more competitive. You know, it's not as if they were completely falling apart based on what happened last year. And I think Nunes, if he would have maybe not been sent off in that game against Crystal Palace, then maybe they are more settled in their thought. Because, you know, lots of people after the Community Shield thought that Liverpool were the real deal. They looked good in that matchup against Man City. And you can see in time that, you know, that Man City side there, they were maybe a week behind Liverpool. So maybe we read into the result a bit too much. But Liverpool aren't a bad side. They could have invested elsewhere. But then also, like, I can't necessarily fully agree with what Shaq is saying, like, to talk about them not finishing top four, because there's still 30 games left for them to go this season. And it's going to be very, very competitive. And, you know, you back them to find some sort of form. But I think the game on the weekend, it kind of showed the two sides of football to a certain extent, because you had Arsenal, who are winning most weeks now. And you can see they have that sense of belief, whereas for Liverpool, there was just a little bit of doubt. And that little bit of doubt can go such a long way, where the margins with the teams you play against can be so small. But yeah, you could say, you know, bring in someone else other than Nunes. But if Nunes wasn't there, and there was someone, and then say, for example, Firmino wasn't scoring goals, then it'd be like, well, it seems like they've missed a trick by not replacing someone like Sadio Mane. So, you know, you can't win whenever, you know, if you're losing, everything's wrong. But if you're winning, then I guess everything's fine.
I think they had to bring a striker in. I do. I think they had to go out and get somebody who potentially, the same as City have done, different outcome at the moment. But we're going to find out about intensity in Liverpool this weekend.
Yeah.
And we're going to find out, by the way, another one who has had some criticism. We're going to find out about him again this weekend is Van Dijk.
Right, yeah.
Because he's playing the biggest, strongest, fastest, informed striker on the planet.
Yeah.
And he's up for a fight, this guy.
But he had him in his pocket in the Community Shield, so that would be fine.
Okay.
That's what people were telling us, weren't they?
Yeah, well, that, to be honest with
Community Shield feels like a long time.
Yes, what?
I didn't say the Community Shield, but I'm telling you now, everybody who watches this game knows that Erling Haaland is absolutely flying.
Yep.
And he is up for a scrap. And Virgil van Dijk is the talisman. He's not the problem in that defence, but he's the leader, he's the talisman. And it's not always been pretty for him. And I think his performance this coming weekend is going to be scrutinised heavily.
It's going to be awesome, isn't it? It's going to be a really good game. Nathan, where did Liverpool finish this season?
I think they finished
it's
top
a big
four.
sigh.
Yeah, I think they finished top four, but at this moment in time, you know, you're sort of wondering, well, who's that instead of? Because we're going to see a resurgence in Chelsea. You should never forget, Man United are still in the mix. Ronaldo's going to do it for them. Never forget that, Dan.
Yeah, I know, I remember.
Yeah, but I think they'll finish top four. But I think at the moment, being 14 points behind Arsenal, who some people believe won't win the league anyway, I can't see Liverpool essentially getting past them and getting past potential Man City charge as well. But I do think they will finish top four.
Where have you gone right now?
Right now, outside it, I'm just not convinced. I'm just not convinced, like I was, that this team could put an unbelievable run together. The two sides that have shown us they can, one is still doing it, and one has fallen off a cliff for the time being. So no, at this moment in time, I've got them outside the top four.
Wow.
At the end of the season, that is.
Yeah, I'm thinking fifth right now. I'm with Craig on this. As good as we know they can be, they've shown nothing so far to suggest that they can recapture that form. And while the top four is still within touching distance, it's just... The issue is just so many departments are feeling Liverpool right now. You know, it's not just about shoring up the defence. It's not just about creating more opportunities up front. Everywhere just seems to be so off speed that it's difficult to see it all coming together in a way that has them finishing in the top four.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.